My name is Janelle, and I read A Bonnet Ripper. It's a tale of fearlessness in the dark, of hopelessness, and of learning to love, and of triumph. And above all, of never giving up on your dreams to learn about the Amish community. No, not the book. That's my tale of reading the book. The book is terrible. Why would you read A Bonnet Ripper, Janelle? Aren't you a feminist? Why do you care so much about the Amish community? Well, for first of all, they are incredibly secretive, and I have been on a quest to learn about Amish people for 10 years now, and since they don't allow themselves to be filmed, I have to do a lot of reading, okay? I grew up in California and there were no Amish people there. Do you know the lengths that I have to go to learn about these people? Anyways, so the book I read is The Shunning by Beverly Lewis. I will be talking about spoilers in this, so if you are desperately into bonnet rippers, don't watch my review, because I'm going to be spoiling and ranting about this book. So, The Shunning is about a 21-year-old girl named Katie, who is a member of the Amish community, and she is engaged to be married to a 40-year-old widower who has 5 children. Now, at 21, she's already a bit of a spinster, and if she turns down the bishop, well, there'll be no one left for her to marry, because at 21, who's gonna marry you? Basically, your eggs have already turned to stone. What's the point? But if you're 40, if you're 40, go ahead, get remarried. She's conflicted because her previous love, Daniel, has died, and the entire theme and tension throughout the book is that Katie doesn't feel at home in the Amish community. She wants to sing music that isn't allowed by the church. The church only allows music to be sung in hymns, and she wants to play the guitar, and she has this yearning to wear things that aren't Amish appropriate, and so she doesn't understand why she feels so different. And then it turns out that she was adopted secretly in a super kind of sketchy way that really isn't legal, and that I definitely wouldn't recommend anyone do, because it's technically considered human trafficking. And so it ends with her running away from her marriage to the bishop and being shunned by her community. The plot is incredibly simplistic. I saw what was coming a mile away, like within the first 30 pages of the book. And there's really, there isn't a lot of information about the Amish community in here that you don't necessarily can already know through other means. Something else when Amish kids finish school and they only go through school up through 8th grade, they are allowed this period of sort of like free reign to sort of experience the English world, which is what they call the non-Amish world, and they are allowed to sort of see what the other side lives like, and then after that, if they decide that they want to come back to the church, they are baptized, and then they're considered full-grown adults. So Katie has been baptized, and she's already an adult member of the community, but now she's suddenly having doubts, which felt a little bit like disingenuous, because if this was really so intrinsic to her, I would think that she would at least have like hesitated during her baptism. Just the fact that she's now wanting to lead the community when she was just baptized a few years earlier, and it just felt a little bit rushed and unrealistic. But overall, I did not expect to be simultaneously shamed for being in my 20s and yet unmarried. It suddenly hit me that I'd be a spinster by Amish standards, which kind of hurts. Not gonna lie, kind of hurts. And there's not really. So if you're looking for a book that's iconic, of like the Amish community or something like that, this really isn't it. The plot isn't that great, and it discusses theological issues. Like, a lot of Amish people or former Amish people have left the community because, Amish people have very specific theological standards, and so the reason why they live that way is because they believe that that their faith is intrinsically tied to the way that they live, and so that's why it's so desperate for them, why it's so important for them to uphold every single rule, and So when you're baptized, you agree to live according to the Amish rules, and you say that you agree with them and you submit to them. So the thing is so a lot of Amish people have, or former Amish people have left the community because they're like, wait, I realize that not wearing a bonnet has no impact on me getting into heaven or something like that, which is an interesting perspective and what I'm not like taking a stance on or anything like that. But the but so this book, it deals with the fact that she feels like she doesn't belong in the community, but it doesn't deal with any of the theological implications of that, which I felt again was pretty disingenuous because Amish people are very religious, and so she's willing to like forsake her community and her family and everything like that, but she has no bearing on like, wait, does this mean I'll not get to heaven? Does this mean like because I want to wear like not because I don't want to wear bonnets or because I want to wear my hair in a ponytail that does this impact my salvation at all? She never thinks about that. So yeah, overall this book was, how many pages was it? Like 235, 260. It could have easily been 30 pages. Not gonna lie, there wasn't a lot of plot in this, and a lot of fluff. And so it's, but it was kind of entertaining, I guess. That's why I read it. I wasn't expecting a great piece of literature or anything like that. There are apparently 2 other books in the series, but I didn't think I could slog through them, so I read what happens on Goodreads. And so apparently what happens is she leaves the Amish community, she finds her birth mother, and she becomes like, and she joins the English world for a bit, but she still feels a bit like forlorn. And then it turns out that her secret long-lost love, who was not the bishop but the man who she loved before him, who secretly drowned, was totally alive the whole time. And so I'm assuming that they get together, because why else would he show up dramatically alive years later? So yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, I would say, a fairy tale where it doesn't really make much sense, but you just go along with it. So anyways, that's my review of The Shunning. I didn't give it any stars because I felt like that wouldn't be fair, because I'm not the target demographic. So yes, Beverly Lewis. I don't know. I don't think I'll be reading any more books by Beverly Lewis, but if you have any recommendations for books about the Amish community, let me know, because my curiosity will not be satisfied until I learn about these people, which is kind of pathetic. They're not on the internet, so how am I supposed to research them? Like, no, this is every like researcher's nightmare. You can't find them on the internet. So anyways, that's my review of The Shunning by Beverly Lewis. Doei!